Hi, I'm Hayden. 6 months ago, my husband Mark and I received the news we'd been hoping for. We were finally expecting our first child after 2 years of trying. When we got our first ultrasound photos, we were overjoyed and couldn't wait to share them with our family. "Look at our little peanut," Mark said, his voice catching as he held up the grainy black and white image. "Should we make copies for your sister and Nathan?" "Definitely. Emily will be thrilled," I replied, carefully placing the original photos in a keepsake box. Though Nathan's been acting weird lately. "Weird how?" Mark looked up from admiring the photos. "Just little comments. When Emily mentioned they were trying for a baby too, he kept saying they'd been trying longer, so they'd definitely announce first." Mark shrugged. "That's just Nathan being competitive as usual." The next weekend, we invited everyone over for dinner to share our news properly. Emily squealed with delight when we told her, wrapping me in a tight hug. "I'm going to be an aunt. This is incredible." She examined the ultrasound photos with tears in her eyes. "How far along are you?" 12 weeks, I said. "We wanted to wait until the first trimester was over." From across the room, I noticed Nathan's face darkening. He barely touched his food and kept whispering to Emily throughout dinner. "Everything okay?" I asked him during dessert. "Fine," he snapped. "Just surprised you're making such a big deal over a blob on a screen." Emily nudged him. "Nathan, don't be rude. We're happy for them." "Are we?" He pushed back from the table. "You've been trying for 3 years, Em. 3 years of disappointment while they get lucky right away." "That's not fair," Mark said, his voice level but firm. "Everyone's journey is different." "Whatever," Nathan muttered. "Where's the bathroom again?" Later that evening, after everyone had left, I went to show my mom the ultrasound photos over video chat. "Mark, have you seen the keepsake box? It's not on the shelf." I called out, searching frantically. Mark joined the search, checking drawers and cabinets. "I'm sure you put it on the bookshelf." When we finally found the box knocked behind the couch, I opened it with shaking hands. No. They're ruined." Inside, my precious ultrasound photos had been torn into tiny pieces, soaked with what smelled like beer. "Who would do this?" Mark whispered, picking up the wet fragments. My phone buzzed with a text from my friend Zoe. "Call me ASAP. I overheard Nathan in your hallway saying something disturbing." "He said what?" I gripped the phone tighter as Zoe's words sank in. "I was coming back from the bathroom when I heard him on the phone," Zoe explained. "He was saying Emily should have been first. We've been trying way longer." Then something about taking care of it and making sure their happiness wouldn't overshadow Emily's when their turn finally came. Mark paced the living room, running his hands through his hair. "That's psychotic. Why would he destroy something so precious?" "Because he's always been obsessively competitive," I said, the pieces falling into place. "Remember the family vacation last year? How he couldn't stand that we got the slightly nicer cabin." Later that day, I called my sister-in-law Olivia, who had dated Nathan briefly years ago. "I'm not surprised," Olivia sighed through the phone. "When we were together, he kept score of everything. Once he deleted all my graduation photos because his ceremony had been rained out." "Did you ever confront him?" I asked. "I tried, but he twisted everything around until I doubted myself. That's his specialty." The next morning, I invited Emily for coffee, determined to handle this carefully. I need to ask you something difficult," I began, stirring my decaf nervously. "You seem serious. What's going on?" Concern filled her eyes. I took a deep breath. "My ultrasound photos were destroyed during your visit, torn up and soaked with beer." "What? That's horrible." She reached for my hand. "You think one of us did it?" "I have reason to believe it was Nathan." Her face hardened immediately. "That's a serious accusation, Hayden. Nathan would never do something so cruel." Zoe overheard him on the phone, saying disturbing things about our pregnancy. "So you're taking Zoe's word over my husband's?" Emily pulled her hand away. "Just because we haven't been as lucky as you doesn't mean Nathan's jealous enough to destroy something like that." "Emily, please. No, this is ridiculous. We've been struggling for years while you got pregnant right away. If anyone has a right to be upset, it's us. but we've been nothing but supportive. Supportive? Nathan called our baby a blob on a screen, I countered. He was just having a bad day. We had another negative test that morning. She gathered her purse. I can't believe you'd accuse him like this. After Emily left, Mark suggested we install a small security camera in our living room. If he's unstable enough to do this, who knows what he might do next, Mark reasoned. You're right, I nodded. And I'm going to talk to our doctor about getting another copy of the ultrasound. Later that week, Dr. Reynolds was sympathetic when I explained the situation. Of course we can print another copy, she assured me. And I'd suggest documenting this incident. Property destruction often escalates, especially when it's motivated by jealousy. 2 weeks passed before we saw Nathan and Emily again at my parents' anniversary dinner. The security camera had captured nothing unusual during their brief visit to drop off a gift, but tension hung in the air like a storm cloud. How are you feeling, honey? My mom asked as we helped prepare salads in the kitchen. Good. The morning sickness is finally easing up, I replied, glancing toward the living room where Nathan sat scowling at his phone. Has there been any resolution to the photo situation? She whispered. Not yet, but I was interrupted by Nathan appearing in the doorway. Talking about me? His smile didn't reach his eyes. Just discussing Hayden's pregnancy, Mom answered smoothly. Would you mind taking these rolls to the table? During dinner, Nathan kept making subtle digs. So, have you been taking extra precautions with your special photos? He asked, emphasizing the word mockingly. Mark's jaw tightened. Actually, Nathan, we wanted to talk to you about that. About what? Nathan's face remained neutral, but his knuckles whitened around his fork. Our ultrasound photos were destroyed the night of our announcement dinner, I said directly. Torn up and soaked with beer. That's terrible, he replied, not meeting my eyes. Things get misplaced all the time. They weren't misplaced, Mark said firmly. They were deliberately destroyed. And you think I did it? Nathan laughed, looking around the table. That's absurd. Zoe overheard you on the phone, I pressed, saying Emily should have been pregnant first and you were taking care of it. The table fell silent. Emily stared at her plate. Your friend's mistaken, Nathan said coldly. I would never do something so childish. Then you wouldn't mind if we checked the security footage from that night, Mark bluffed, since we hadn't installed the camera until after the incident. Nathan's composure cracked. You've been recording us? That's illegal. Only if we didn't inform visitors, which we do with a small sign by the door, I countered, continuing the bluff. Nathan's face flushed dark red. Fine, I did it. Those photos were like a slap in the face after everything Emily's been through. Nathan! Emily gasped. Tell me you didn't. They were flaunting their luck while we keep failing month after month, he shouted. Someone needed to take them down a notch. By destroying cherished memories of our child? I stood up, trembling with anger. What gives you the right? I'm sorry, okay? He backpedaled, realizing everyone was staring in horror. It was a moment of weakness. I'll pay for replacements. This isn't about money, I said, my voice steady despite my racing heart. This is about trust and respect, both of which you've completely violated. Come on, Hayden, he pleaded, suddenly switching tactics. We're family. You can't hold this against me forever. Watch me, I replied. You're not welcome in our home or around our child until you get help for your issues. You self-righteous. Nathan stood, knocking over his chair. You think you can keep me from my own niece or nephew? I'll see them whenever Emily does. Nathan, stop! Emily begged, grabbing his arm. He yanked away violently. Don't tell me to stop. I did this for us. He pointed a finger at my stomach. That should have been our baby! Our moment! Get out of my house, my father commanded, standing to his full height. Fine, Nathan shouted, grabbing his jacket. But this isn't over. You'll regret turning my own family against me. As he stormed out, slamming the door so hard a picture fell from the wall, Emily collapsed into tears. I'm so sorry, she sobbed. I didn't want to believe he could do something so cruel. The next morning, Mark and I filed for a restraining order based on Nathan's threats and destruction of property. We included statements from everyone at the dinner, plus Zoe's account of what she'd overheard. Do you think it will be approved? I asked our lawyer, Diane. His threats were witnessed by multiple people and he admitted to destroying your property. She nodded. The judge should grant a temporary order at minimum. What if Emily tries to mediate? Mark wondered. She called this morning saying Nathan wants to apologize in person. That's your decision, Diane replied. But in my experience, abusers often use apologies to regain access to their victims. It's not happening, I said firmly. I don't need or want his apology. 3 days later, Nathan sent a lavish flower arrangement with a card reading, I overreacted. Let's talk this out like family. I texted Emily. I appreciate that Nathan wants to apologize, but we're proceeding with the restraining order. My priority is protecting our child from his unpredictable behavior. He's seeing a therapist, she replied immediately. Can't you give him another chance? One session isn't enough to fix this level of jealousy and control, I responded. I'm glad he's getting help, but we need space and legal protection. A week later, we appeared before Judge Martinez for the restraining order hearing. Nathan arrived looking polished and repentant, with Emily beside him. Miss Cooper, please explain why you're seeking this order, the judge requested. I described the ultrasound destruction, the witnessed threats, and the pattern of jealousy. When Nathan's turn came, he painted himself as misunderstood. Your Honor, I made a terrible mistake during an emotional time. My wife and I have been struggling with fertility issues, and I reacted poorly to my sister-in-law's news. Did you destroy her property and make threats as described? Judge Martinez asked directly. I tore some photos in a moment of weakness, he admitted reluctantly, but I never threatened anyone. That's an exaggeration. We have 5 witness statements saying otherwise, the judge noted, including your wife's. Nathan turned to Emily, betrayal written across his face. You're taking their side, after everything we've been through? Emily's voice was barely audible. I'm not taking sides. I'm telling the truth. The truth? Nathan's voice rose. The truth is, they've had everything handed to them while we suffer. And now you're betraying me too? Mr. Wilson, Judge Martinez warned, outbursts like this only reinforce the need for this order. This is a family matter, Nathan insisted. We can work this out privately. Your Honor, I interjected. We tried handling this privately. That's when he threatened me and my unborn child. I never threatened the baby, Nathan protested. I would never hurt a child. You said, and I quote from multiple witnesses, the judge read from her papers. That should have been our baby, while pointing at Miss Cooper's stomach, followed by, this isn't over. You'll regret turning my family against me. How would you characterize those statements, Mr. Wilson? Nathan's shoulders slumped. I was upset. I didn't mean it. The judge granted the restraining order for 1 year, with conditions for Nathan to complete anger management training before any reconsideration. Outside the courthouse, Emily approached me hesitantly. Hayden, Nathan really is sorry. He just doesn't know how to express it properly. I believe he's sorry he got caught, I replied. But I don't owe him forgiveness, Emily. Some lines can't be uncrossed. We're family, she pleaded. This divide is killing Mom and Dad. He created this divide, not me, I said gently. I hope he gets the help he needs, but I need to protect my family now. 3 months later, I was showing my growing belly to Zoe and Mark over breakfast. Have you heard from Emily? Zoe asked carefully. She's staying with Mom and Dad for a while, I explained. She filed for separation after Nathan violated the restraining order by showing up at her workplace. How are you feeling about all of it? Zoe pressed, stirring her coffee. Honestly, I still have moments of anger, I admitted. But mostly I feel sad for Emily. She's going through something terrible while I'm experiencing something wonderful. It's a strange contradiction. Have you spoken with her directly? Mark asked, placing his hand over mine. We had coffee last week, I nodded. It was Difficult but necessary. What did she say about Nathan? Zoe leaned forward. That his therapist diagnosed him with narcissistic tendencies and severe insecurity, I replied. Apparently, his parents always compared him unfavorably to his brother, creating this desperate need to win at everything. That explains a lot, Mark commented. But it doesn't excuse anything. Exactly what I told Emily, I agreed. Understanding someone's damage doesn't obligate you to let them keep damaging you. How did she respond to that? Zoe asked. She cried. Said she's been making excuses for his behavior for years. I sighed. Then she asked if I could ever forgive him. And? Mark squeezed my hand. I told her forgiveness isn't my responsibility right now. My job is to protect our baby and create a peaceful home. I took a sip of my tea. Maybe someday I'll find forgiveness, but it won't include allowing toxic people back into our lives. Do you think they'll reconcile? Mark wondered. That's her decision, I shrugged. But I've learned something important through all this. You can't force forgiveness, and you don't need to accept apologies that only serve the other person's conscience. What about the family dynamics? Zoe asked. Holiday gatherings will be awkward. We'll create new traditions, I smiled, placing a hand on my stomach as the baby kicked. With people who respect boundaries and celebrate our joy instead of trying to diminish it. To new beginnings. Mark raised his orange juice glass. And to standing your ground, Zoe added, raising her mug. As we clinked glasses, I felt the weight of betrayal lifting. Nathan had tried to steal our special moment, but in doing so, he'd only revealed his true character and lost everything that mattered. The baby's kicking like crazy, I laughed. I think she agrees with our toast. She? Mark's eyes widened. You think it's a girl? Just a feeling, I smiled. A strong-willed little girl who won't let anyone steal her joy. Like her mother, Zoe nodded approvingly. Have you ever had someone try to diminish your happiness out of jealousy? How did you handle it? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories.